isolation from the coronavirus stop you from preparing for your next chapter by starting to write your story today? Are you about to graduate, but instead of the plans you made, you're now back home in your room wondering, how did this happen? Think of Your Career Design Lab as your virtual career coaching counselor, here to help you reevaluate and self-reflect on your past 4 years of achievements. We help to architect, design, and curate your past 4 years of internships, job experience, extracurriculars, and so much more. We then help you put your story into a branded resume and cover letter on how to find your dream career to landing it. This is your time. Incubate and come out knowing who you are and where you want to go.
Awesome. So that was from your host.
Guys, we are going to have quite a night. So I hope you get ready for this. In fact, I'm going to do something a little different tonight, just to kind of get us in the mood, if you will. I actually want you to start to close. We're going to do a little visualization, if you will, tonight. So I'd like you to all start by closing your eyes. And I want you to take 3 deep breaths. Keeping your eyes closed, we're going to go for a ride. Think about the car that you're going to get into. Again, I have the keys. This time, we're going to go in a different direction. We're going to go on a journey. We're driving to a celebration. The celebration is you. Are you ready? First, ask yourself on your way to your celebration, decide on this drive if you're going to be a worrier or a warrior. Or you decide how you want to feel on your ride will determine how fun this ride will be. Let's put on the radio, put on your CarPlay and your car list. Amplify your existence. Are you putting the volume up on your desire, your passion, or are you feeling afraid? There is fear that you need, and there's fear you don't need. There is a distinction. Find it and go down the path you are meant to go on. Are you afraid? Because creative living is a path to the brave. Are you afraid that there will be no market for you? Are you afraid that someone did it better? Someone will steal your ideas? Afraid your dreams are embarrassing and that you're a waste of time? Afraid you're too fat so it creates anxiety or doesn't make you worthy? Are you afraid of being a one-hit wonder, or worst off, a no-hit wonder? Are you afraid if you talk about your personal truth that people will find you boring? Fear is boring. There is no time tonight to think small. So turn up the volume on your dreams. Tonight, we're going in a different direction. Put your fear in your rear mirror. Because tonight, we are celebrating you. So we're going to learn how to decorate you. Because you're entitled. A fierce sense of entitlement. It's not acting like a princess or a prince. It's the arrogance of involving and belonging, of where you belong. It's a divine force. So let's go. Because a good plan, a direction taken or executed now, is better than a perfect plan not executed. For the procrastinators that we talked about last time, remember, just finish what you start, because done is better than good. Tonight, we're going to be telling stories, your stories, the ones that have changed you, molded you, have made you who you are today. Then we're going to discuss further how those stories get told in ways that move you, move the person you're relaying them to, and becoming the person you are meant to be. It keeps you from mental obedience of not feeling good enough, because stories defend yourself. I'm a singer. I'm a photographer. I'm a musician. I'm a financier. I'm an artist. When you declare yourself, you make the other person curious to find out more about you. We've arrived at your destination. That didn't take long. But remember, if you really look closely, most overnight successes took a long time, and your road has just begun. So like tonight, enjoy your ride. You will get to your destination. Open your eyes. I hope your road became clear, because tonight we're going to talk about you. So just think, as we're telling these things, are you a worrier or a warrior? Look, this is unprecedented times, but I'm also finding there's many things to celebrate as well. So why don't we go back to the to-do list? How many of you have done it since last week? And for many of you who have come here tonight, just to reiterate, a to-do list is everything you've done in your life, from when you were young to middle school to high school to college. These are the things that have made you, that have celebrated you, to recognize that in yourself. So I want to open up the floor tonight of who did it. What did they find out? What did you guys find out about doing the to-do list? Who would like to start? Andrew, I'm going to call on you. Andrew, can you hear me? I mean, Matthew. Let's start with Matthew. Sorry.
Yeah. So I did do it.
Good.
One thing that I kind of realized when I went through the list was that normally, like lately, I've just been thinking about what I've done in university and like briefly glancing maybe like last year of high school. But then I went a little deeper into like my childhood, and I realized that I've been doing things that were part of my passion to become a photographer or a musician, like, or even just like learning marketing when I was 12, 13 years old. The first time I picked up music production was GarageBand when I was 11. And I learned how to record my guitar and sing songs, export it, and put it on YouTube. I actually did use Instagram when I was like 11 or 12, when Instagram was still super early. I was in middle school. But I actually had an account, and it grew up to 8,000 followers. And, you know, that helped me actually release some music and put it up on YouTube and get 200 subscribers back when I was literally like 13 years old. I didn't even remember this, which is the crazy part. But yeah, I guess like deep down, I always knew that I had a need for self-expression and to also like have my voice heard. So it was really refreshing to uncover that about myself.
Matthew, that is so cool. And do you see that by doing that to-do list, that story that you just told? If you're talking to me, you're talking to DeMarco White tonight, you're talking to somebody, do you see that picture that painted of you? Mm-hmm. Without, like, it was effortless, right?
Yeah.
It was so effortless, just you telling that story. Because you can feel that passion in you. You could feel the to-do. And I mean, those followers that you had, are you kidding me? That's incredible.
Yeah.
And by doing that, Matthew, what did that make you think about yourself differently than before you did it, for instance?
I realized, one insecurity I have like, as a recent college grad is that I don't have that experience. I don't have that skill set. Someone 2 years older than me has way more experience or whatever. But I'm like, well, technically speaking, I've been on social media longer than most adults have. And I probably have more experience like managing my own personal brand. And I've probably spent more like total hours on Instagram than most professionals have. So I was like, wow, I actually understand this platform like really well.
Exactly. And Matthew, I'm really glad you brought that up, because there was another client I was speaking to this week who felt the same way as you. And I bet there are a lot of people out here tonight that feel the same way, that's sort of the exercise of the visualization, is that it's kind of bull, to be honest with you, that people have more experience than you guys. Quite frankly, I think you're a generation that does have more experience than us. We may have a job or a career, but as far as experiences go, I don't think there's ever been a generation that brings more value into a company than you guys right now. So I want you to believe that. That's, again, putting those fears in the rearview mirror. That's a crock of you know what. And I can tell you that from experience, that you guys all bring more value of the things that you know into a company than the people who are either running the company or presidents, CEOs of the companies. So you keep going with your stories and those realizations and revelations about yourself, and you bring those into your interviewing skills. There's no stopping you, quite frankly. So good for you. That was awesome. Is there anybody else out there that would like to talk to me about their to-do list before we get into the questions that you guys might have answered? Again, the to-do list might be, I sold lemonade and I was able to raise money to feed the homeless in my community. It might have been, it's like what I just said on the visualization. How a to-do list helps you to claim yourself, like Matthew just did. He realized what he's been all his whole life. Similarly, like me, like I had said before, I was able to convince people and sell people early on in my life without really realizing it. We all have an innate gift, and that's what the to-do list does, is kind of unearth and unwrap the gifts that we all have. So if anybody has any other things, they can just tell me on the chat line, because now we'll go into the questions. So how many of you went on to really kind of work a little bit more on the stories? Can you show me in the chat thing how many of you were able to answer some of these questions? Do I need to go to the chat? Okay. Matthew, why don't we start with you again then? What were some of the, I'm going to point one out to you. What was the most difficult period in your life and how did you deal with it?
For sure. I also answered this one last week as well.
Oh, right. You
kind of
did.
rehearsed it already.
Okay.
Yeah.
Different one. What was your greatest failure? Why? And what did you learn from it? Let's start with that, because that's a big one, by the way, that every question gets asked every time, no matter where you go. That's a big one.
Mm-hmm. So I think my greatest failure was I had a course last year in business school, and it was about like Excel modeling, statistics, and I just didn't do very well in the course. I did below average. I was very disappointed in myself, and really, I think the learning lesson there for me was I just didn't ask questions in class. I didn't, ask the teacher for help. And frankly, looking back, I really could have put myself in a better position for that class if I had taken like a introductory statistics course like the year before. And so I kind of let that decision bite me in the butt a little bit when it came out in my third year of university. That being said, I took those learnings. I took a fourth year stats course and I combined it with my interest for digital marketing. So that way I was able to put stats with something that I do understand together. And when I was able to piece together in something that makes sense in my mind already, I ended up doing a lot better in the course. And my grade actually went up over 30%, which was amazing. So yeah.
Oh my God, that's brilliant. So let me ask you a question. If you were interviewing with me and I was asking that question and it was a music business thing, and I asked you what your greatest failure was and you chose that to speak to me about it, how could you relay that in a music form? Like today, like last week, we talked about how you bring value. So that's a great thing. And I have an idea, but I want to hear from you. How could you relay that story that you told, but say, like if I was to work here, I would recognize that something. And I want to hear from you what you might be able to say.
Like if I were to work at a music company, the one thing I learned from my lesson in my statistics course is that you should always ask questions early and clarify those answers and the requirements of me earlier on. The sooner I do that, the faster I can get rolling in a direction that makes sense and meets the objective properly.
That's an excellent answer. Also, I would find out, like what you said is maybe putting together a medium or a platform that now you recognize you could put to something else, to a musical thing. Now that you've got that idea of how that works, that you could put, that you'd be really interested in seeing how like something gets integrated into something else that maybe nobody has seen before.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? Because that brings value. I always used to say this in working with PR. And I'll give you an example. I had a fashion company. And, everybody was kind of doing the lookbooks at that time and sending it out to the buyers. But I came up with an idea. This was years before you, but there was a guy who projected 200-foot high images. I think it was of Michael Jordan on buildings. And it was like this basketball player going down. And at the end, it just was like, just do it, Nike. And I found the guy who did that. And it was like on the back of a truck with a big projection screen. So this is before the Times Square had all the things on it, like nothing was on it. And I hired that guy to project 200-foot high images of a model wearing these new clothes of this fashion company we were introducing. I found out where every single buyer was having dinner that night. I put together a little gift. It was an 8-ball, like a see-through ball, and it opened it up. That first there was a Scada, that was a big fashion company. Now we'll look into the future. And when they looked into the magic ball, it said a priori. That was the new designer that they were doing. So everybody's like, a priori, like, oh, this is interesting. That night they're at dinner, and what goes by them? But the 200-foot high images of this model with a priori on it. I then videotaped the whole thing. So the next day when the buyers came in, they saw the video of what they saw. Within 3 hours, that fashion company was bought by every major store. Do you see how I took a medium that nobody would ever thought of in fashion because it was just the lookbook with the price sheet, the like regular thing, and I created something that nobody had ever seen before in this medium. That is what today's businesses, just like before, are looking for. It's a thinking. It's how, when you were young and you built that, what was your thinking on that? And how can you bring that into a music company? Just like, look what's happening now, right? With, the at-home thing. Nobody would ever thought of playing the guitar or Sting or any of them playing from their home, or Jimmy Fallon talking from their home. That was so like, you'd never called in sick. Like that would never been thought of. Now, to be honest with, we're all wondering, why do you even need a studio? So that's the point that I'm trying to bring. I want you guys to go deep and know that you can bring a thinking into companies because you've got it already. And don't be afraid of bringing new mediums into something else. I'm going to ask another question of you guys. What would you say is your proudest achievement? Matthew, it's your night. You're getting one-on-one.
Wow. Okay. What is my proudest achievement? Okay. I think my proudest achievement, actually, this isn't specifically related to music, but I think it has a lot of merit in terms of where I can go in my career. So my last year of high school, this is my first time really getting exposed to business, signed myself up for this extracurricular opportunity where I got to work with a team of high schoolers from around the city and work with a couple corporate advisors in order to start our own company. This is my first time really getting experience with like a large corporate company and understanding how these organizational structures and processes work. But really quickly, I started to pay attention to my own interests and understand where my skills lie in terms of working with people. I realized that deep down, I'm a leader. I'm willing to take responsibility. I can see how my teammates are, I can see the dynamics between my team in order to set them up in order to create projects. And I think that I'm willing to take the charge and take the lead and be that lightning rod for my team in order to get things done. In terms of looking at that from, a music career perspective, I think that in this industry, every single person's got so much to do. So that being said, as a leader, I'm somebody who can really just take responsibility for as much as possible, but also be able to find people if I get overwhelmed in order to ask for help and get things done. But yeah, that opportunity really kind of opened my eyes to what it means to be a professional and got me invigorated to get involved and do more.
Okay, that was excellent. But you know what, I was sitting here, I'm going to be a little tough tonight, is you said a skill set. You didn't tell me what the skills were. So it's kind of like last week, right, where we were telling stories. Every story has to have a who, what, why, where, and how. So when you talk about the skills like I built my own guitar, I'm just making this up, right? Skills like, tell me what the skills were. Bring me into the story. I worked with these guys. I brought these skills. They had never done A, B, C, D, E, F. Because I brought A, B, C, D, E, F, we were then able to build a rocket ship. You know what I mean? Like whatever it is, so that as the interviewer, like, oh my God, I get the thinking. I get the thinking. Like we need somebody like that who can think outside the box, who like that. Because I was sitting here, if I have to ask an internal question of, well, what skills? What skills is he talking about? Where did he do it? How did he do it? Okay, so I want you to, just for every story, think about the who, what, where, why, and how. Just like that story you told in the beginning. I got it. I got it emotionally. Remember, it's what we talked about with Maya Angelou. Make me feel. Take me into that moment that you were leading it. Maybe somebody didn't carry their weight. What did you do to help them to carry their weight? Did you fire them? Did you kick them out? Did you show him the way to go? And then he turned out to be the best person you had working for you? Because again, in that story, that question, you're showing a potential employer or a company your thinking and how you solve problems and how you can work with others, how you can come up with ideas. I mean, it solves a lot of companies' questions.
Mm-hmm.
So that was awesome. I also want to go into the resumes too, but we have DeMarco here. And I think it's really important that DeMarco, I wanted DeMarco tonight, and Rivka will talk about his background, to tell his story, because I think it's really important for you guys. Again, it's kind of what you were saying, Matthew, and anybody else who's on this call. Well, they've got so much more. But he's going to take you on his journey tonight. He's going to take you on his drive. And then we can open up to questions, and I will bring back the resumes after DeMarco speaks, because he's been so wonderful to be here tonight. So let's welcome DeMarco.
Yes, I'm very honored to be here tonight, very excited. Before I get started, I sort of want to know what everyone is interested in career-wise, just so that I make sure I can hit different points throughout my conversation. So Libby, is that how you say it? What is your career pathway?
I'm actually going into digital broadcasting and video production. Mm-hmm.
All right, super cool. Matthew?
Probably more like marketing or brand storytelling.
Okay, awesome.
In music, Matthew.
In music.
Gracie. Sydney?
I'm currently at Food Network, so maybe stay in the food space, but I kind of want to do startup world and like women-empowered companies.
Okay, cool. Gwen?
I am really interested in doing like live music, concert production type stuff.
Okay, super cool. And then Zoe?
I studied marketing communications, like PR,
Yeah.
but I'm more focused right now on fitness and entrepreneurship. Right now.
Okay, dope. Did I miss anybody? I see we have 2 more people, but I feel like they're also panelists. Did I miss anyone, Deborah?
No, I think you got everybody.
Cool.
There may be some people hiding back there, DeMarco.
Okay, that's fine. I see Melanie said music industry. Perfect.
Yeah.
So I'm going to share a little bit about my story and how I got there, and then I think we're going to have an opportunity for questions. So I'm happy to be here. So my name is DeMarco White. I currently am the Institutional Partnerships Manager for Music Forward, which is Live Nation's in-house charity. And so the goal of Music Forward really is sort of to diversify the music industry by providing programming for specifically POC and youth that are in under-resourced communities, but for everyone, and we really just want to give access and opportunity to the music industry, no matter if you want to be on stage or if you want to be behind the scenes. But I wasn't born an institutional partnerships manager, so I want to share with you my pathway on how I got here. I've been with the organization about 4 years, actually. I celebrated my 4-year anniversary last week. So I was born and raised in Chicago. I did my undergrad in Chicago. I went to Roosevelt University. I studied TV broadcasting and media studies. So I thought at that time that I was going to be like this heavy-hitting journalist, and I was going to just like be the person to bust in rooms and like expose people. Like that's what I thought. I was watching a lot of Law and Order back then. I actually originally started as pre-law, and then my professor sat me down and told me that I made too many jokes during during like opening statements. So this wasn't the career for me. So she kind of like pushed me towards communication. So I did that. I studied TV broadcasting and journalism undergrad. And then when I got to my senior year, it was time for me to sort of figure out what I wanted to do. And I hadn't done any internships actually, which is something I would advise now. And going back, I would have done internships. So I feel like I would have gotten to where I am faster. But senior year came, I didn't know what I wanted to do. But I knew that I had this passion for service and entertainment. At the time, I was volunteering for an organization called City Year, which is an education nonprofit. And I was doing like service projects around the city of Chicago. So I did that for some time. They had an opportunity for me to apply for a role with the organization because some of the roles were AmeriCorps programs. So I applied for that role right after college, and I was accepted into it. So I ended up teaching for a year. I was teaching fifth grade girls, which was I would never recommend to anyone. But I was teaching fifth grade girls in a neighborhood called North Lawndale in Chicago. So it was a very under-resourced school. And I did that for a year. And through that experience, I really learned what I didn't want to do, which I think is equally as important as learning what you do want to do. But I was able to develop, even though I knew I didn't want to do that, I was able to develop certain skills. So I was able to hone my project management skills, my organization skills, because I think you all know when you're teaching, you're really focused on other people and their own development. So it was sort of me reflecting on it, learning like my management skills as well, because I was managing different students, right? So after I did that, I decided that's not what I wanted to do, but I really, again, had this passion for service. I grew up a Boy Scout and like a people student ambassador, so I traveled to Australia when I was in high school, and I knew I just wanted to continue to give back, specifically to Chicago because of the lack of resources in the city. So that opportunity had opened for me to apply for the Civic Engagement Program, which was a program that you were put on a team of 6 and you got to beautify the communities of Chicago. You would go into the schools and you'd paint murals and planter boxes, and you would engage the corporate sector with sort of the community sector, and I liked that a lot. So I applied for that in Chicago. The person who was hiring for the team at the time was building a team of friends, and I have a very strong personality. And she gave me that feedback too. She's like, you have a very strong personality that you are very qualified. And I appreciate that she gave me that feedback early on in my career because I've learned how to tailor it in different settings. But she's like, Chicago doesn't work for you, but have you ever thought about LA? I hadn't thought about LA, but at the time I was like 21. I was like, wherever the wind blows, this must mean something. And so I was like, let's go to LA. I got the job in LA, and I got it, and then 2 weeks later I booked the flight, and I literally was looking for an apartment on the flight to LA. I had no idea what the hell I was doing. I was just like, it's either this or be unemployed. So I just went to LA. So I got to LA, sort of figured it out, did that role for a year. So I was engaging corporate sponsors to beautify different schools within LAUSD, which is the school district in LA, sort of painting murals. But while I was doing all that, I was also building my network, because these were people from like NBC and Disney and trying to think who else is CBS. So all these entertainment groups that that I had always heard about and knew that I wanted to be in entertainment in some way. But so I was just building sort of this Rolodex as I was doing this job that I knew sort of 6 months in that it was not going to be forever for me. But I stuck with it because the networking opportunities were good, but I was able to, again, hone my project management skills, hone my organization skills, and even public speaking. I would give like these large speeches and pitches to corporate sponsors. So I did that for a year. As you can see, there's been a trend here. I did that for a year. It's like that's not what I want to do. And I really didn't know what was next. I was in this new city, and I was like, LA is great, but like I don't know if anyone. I don't know. But LA is a very expensive city to live in, and so I was really trying to figure it out. And everyone around me was going back to school, getting their masters and all that. And I was like, that's not for me right now. But I was like, for me, what I thought about was school is a really good way to make connections and to figure out what you want to do. So I went to film school, because again, trying to figure out what is the bridge, what bridges sort of creativity and my passion for service and giving back. So I had always thought that I wanted to be a documentary filmmaker. So I went to film school and did a documentary track. I filmed a couple of documentaries on the HIV and AIDS stigma within the Black community. So I worked on that for 2 years while simultaneously folding clothes at H&M, and really still trying to figure it out. And the skills that I had learned in those 2 years, the first year in Chicago, and in LA, I was able to actually adapt to my film school. So making me really great at producing films and building teams and being able to manage all those different creative processes. I don't know if any of you are creative or have creative friends, but I think that you know how it can be when you're working with people who have very interesting ideas. So I did that and was really still trying to figure it out. And when I got to the end of film school, I was satisfied for the work I had done. But I had saw everyone around me sort of, in all honesty, giving more than what I was giving. And I was like, this might not be it for me. Because again, to be honest, people were willing to like sleep on couches and like couch surf to make their films. And I was like, I don't want to be poor. Like I didn't want to be poor. And I knew that comes along with being a filmmaker. For when you're trying to get your film bought and all of that. So I knew that my passion, this was more of a passion than a profession, which again is something that I think has to be identified when you're searching for your career. Like, is this something that I'm good at and that I like to do? Or is it something that I want to profit off of and make a career? So I had started, when film school was ending, I started applying for 9-to-5 jobs. I found the House of Blues Music Forward. And I was trying to figure out how could I communicate my skill set, because before then I was sort of in education and civic engagement, and I was trying to figure out how can I communicate that experience to the entertainment sector, right? And so I was able to sort of twist my work with corporate sponsorship, by pitching and working with large groups to sort of say that like I know how to be able to pitch a mission to a company and be able to bring them in on the social corporate responsibility side. So I applied for the development position and went through 3 rounds, I think. And then they called me back and was like, it's gonna be a no from it's gonna be a no. So they let me know that, but they said, but we really enjoyed your presentation, and based off of some of your past experience, the same experience that I was trying to sort of switch, we want to put you in our programs department. So they hired me for the programs department. I was the first Los Angeles full-time program coordinator. And I started there really working to build a volunteer program and to run local programming. And then within a year and a half, I was promoted to manager. So I was overseeing all programs in Southern California. And then I started overseeing programs nationally, brought a couple programmatic ideas to the table and was able to launch those. Then I started to oversee their artist roster as well, because again, my management skills, sort of my project management skills somehow parlayed into artist management. And I was the only one who had those management skills. So I ended up managing our artist roster. Mind you, just figuring it out sort of all around the way. Managed the artist roster, and then sort of as we transitioned as an organization, I pivoted to now where I oversee all of our partnerships. And now that we're in COVID, I oversee our digital content as well. So I'm still in LA. I'm in the entertainment industry. I didn't have a linear pathway, but sort of what I did was really try to figure out like what skills can I take from this experience and get me closer and closer to my end goal, because I didn't have an end goal. I just knew, and now I know that I want to be in music. My end goal is actually to be in touring, to create experiences and moments for artists and for other music enthusiasts. But had I not been in all those places of learning what I didn't want to do, I don't think I'd be able to define what I do want to do. I'm in my late 20s, so I don't know if that helps out too.
Yeah.
But that's me.
DeMarco, let me ask a question, and guys all chime in as well. You know, before you came on, I have everybody do a to-do list. And a to-do list is really what you've done, what you're most proud of.
Yeah.
So, I mean, when you were younger, like the story that you just, how much now can reflect back and say that like what you were doing as a kid, like you were saying Boy Scouts and those kinds of things, how much does that play into your trajectory? Like when you look back, you know, I was always like that.
Yeah.
How would you?
I think it plays a lot into it. I mean, I've always been very extroverted, but I feel like I've been able to hone that skill in being in uncomfortable spaces. I think specifically in being a Boy Scout, or even like I was a tennis captain at my high school. I was vice president of student council. Like just being in these positions of having to engage different constituents, but also diverse constituents, allowed me to be able to tailor my speeches to different audiences. I also think something right now that I'm realizing too is Boy Scouts is predominantly white men, right? And so being able to learn how to code switch was huge for me in that space, and it's something that I've been able to adapt because the music industry is a white male-dominated space. And me being a Black man, it's been very much, there's many obstacles that I've had to overcome, but I think had I not learned how to code switch very early on, or sort of read between certain lines, I don't think I'd be able to navigate the music industry as well as I have been now. Because I have friends who are just as skilled as I am, or even more so, but cannot seem to get their foot in the door just because they don't know how to really speak the language or pick their battles.
That's excellent. And speaking of getting your foot in the door,
you
know, as we've got Zoe and Gwen and Matthew and Sid and all these people, if somebody was to come to you, you know, we talk about telling their story and making you feel something. And this is something a lot of kids don't know how to do. You know, they come and go, I'm good at organizing, but you don't get a sense of who they are.
Yeah.
We talked a little bit about before this. When somebody comes to you, what is it? What makes you hire them? What makes you feel like there's somebody that you want to work with or would be good for a team?
Yeah.
Who do you?
I want someone who's innovative and creative, and someone who, I really appreciate people who are confident, and confident and competent, right? I think there's this thing when you're first starting out that you are confident, but you're not always competent in all the areas. And so being willing to learn new skills. But when I'm hiring, I definitely want somebody who can challenge me as a manager, but also bring in new things to the organization. So if you're saying, these are my skill sets and this is how I've been able to apply them, and it's something that I've never been able to do, that's actually more attractive to me than someone who's sort of just like me. So how can you challenge me and our organization to grow? Because that's really all I want to do.
Right. So you would prefer somebody coming to you and really telling their story and all the skills that they could bring, rather than I'd like to learn from you.
Yeah. Tell me what you bring. Tell me what you bring to the table. Tell me what you bring to the table. And then also like sort of the what is so important. Like how are you backing that up, right? And I think when you talk about resumes, those bullets are so important to be able to flex on. And I think it's really all about how you communicate your experience, because the resume will get you the interview. Like how the interview is really like you have to sell yourself to me, not only just your experience, but also personality wise. Like, are you a good fit? Are we a good fit to work together?
Right.
So
give us an example, DeMarco, of somebody that just blew you away. Like maybe
Yeah.
on the resume you were thinking, I don't really think so. But then when you met them, you went, oh my God.
Yeah.
Can you give the kids an idea? Because I always think that's really cool.
Yeah, so actually I've had two interns specifically that have blown me away that I thought weren't gonna do well at all. They're on their resumes, didn't necessarily have the roles that were related to the internship I was hiring for, but they were artists. And so what they brought to the table was that they were living in this experience, right? So when we talked about like where are artists performing, or what's the new music, or what apps and what technology are artists using, they had all that knowledge because they were using it. So they were able to give input on it. So they were applying the actual skills that we were teaching to our other artists in their own day-to-day. So I feel like they just were able to flourish in the internship because they were really invested in what we were doing because it affected them as artists.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, DeMarco, before I open up to questions to everybody, you know, that was something we were just talking about, right?
Yeah.
Is that I believe, and you tell me because you're interviewing people, is this generation, I think beyond any generation, really has the ability to bring skill sets to somebody like you or companies that's never really been seen before.
Yeah.
So what I try to explain is that it's not a hierarchy kind of thing if somebody's coming to work for you. It's really more collaborative.
Yeah.
And that's what you're looking for as well. So you guys have got to bring the collaborative mindset. Not like, oh, I'm going to be working for DeMarco, you know, White, and I don't know what I'm doing. Would you elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah. So I think it's also about, I mean, everyone's going to ask what you did during COVID-19. Like everyone's going to want to know how you spent your time, specifically if you're applying for the industry. But like, listen, you all are the cool people right now. Everyone's looking to you all and your generation about what is next. And so just being on top of sort of the trends and things that are innovative are your best bet, because when you come into a place, people are going to know what are you providing us, right? What services are you providing us? How are you making us better? That's really what a job interview all is about. It's not how can you keep us the same and keep us where we're going. Like it's how can you help us grow? So think about that. And I think that's also how you communicate in your interview too, is when you talk about your skills. I know how to analyze marketing strategies and marketing data and data related to marketing. I think we can grow your audience by X, Y, and Z if we focus on A, B, and C, right? And so coming in with already a plan, but also not sounding arrogant and not sounding overconfident.
Exactly. I'm going to open it up to you guys now. What questions do you have for DeMarco that may be personal for what you guys are doing? Zoe, I'm going to put you on the spot. Go for it. Zoe has a very interesting story. Tell DeMarco what you have been doing.
In terms of fitness, you mean?
Yeah, just in terms of your life, Syracuse, like talk about what we talked about last week, you know?
I wasn't here last week, but I'll reiterate what I mentioned the first week.
Yeah.
So I studied marketing, so PR, communications, and technology in school. I just graduated from Syracuse University, but I've been interested in fitness since about 8th grade.
Yeah.
I have my own training business here on campus because I guess once people saw that I had a serious interest in fitness and nutrition, people started to see the results for myself.
Yeah.
Inspired me. So that's something I really want to continue with. I would like to continue to grow my company, but of course I have a lot to learn, and I feel like I haven't really worked with anybody in terms of entrepreneurship and fitness. So it's hard when I'm in interviews to display, like, how can you help us grow? Like, that question, like, really, I don't know.
How have you helped yourself grow?
Exactly.
Well, I've completely changed my body through like education of nutrition and working out styles. I mean, and I've grown my Instagram. I guess I qualify as an influencer because I've gained
That's huge. Why are you quoting it?
I know.
Because it doesn't feel real.
You seem like a walking billboard, to be honest with you. If you've already done, it seems like you've already done the work. You just need to communicate it. And it's also about not every person is going to get what you do, right? And so I feel like when you're in interviews and jobs, and it's like, oh, I didn't get this one, I don't get this one. Like your time will come, and it just needs to be a fit. But it really just sounds. Do you have a website?
I don't. I've been told I need to do that or YouTube.
Yeah, you need to prove it, right? You need to if you just submitted a resume, I'm like, okay, this is great on bullets, but like specifically with fitness, like prove it. Do you have testimonials from your clients?
I probably could get that. I have like before and afters, like footage of them training and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But
Zoe, the week before, I'm sorry, DeMarco, but the week before she said she got how many, and I was like going nuts on you, 2,000 followers? Like how many followers do you have?
Well, like when I barely post, but yeah, I have a little bit over 2,000 now. And like one of my recent clients, like I helped her lose 40 pounds.
Jeez, that's a lot.
Yeah, I just need to be better at communicating what I can do and marketing myself.
Right, and also if you're not looking to be a marketer, who around you can market for you, right? It doesn't have to all be on you. I think that's the misconception with entrepreneurship, is that you have to do it all, right? Who are your friends? Who are your people like that you can, hey, I'll help you lose weight if you post on my Instagram for me. Like there's some of that exchange that can happen, but I think that it sounds like you're on the right path, and you just have to show me where it's at, right? Show me where these results are. Show me where these testimonials are. Show me the proof is in the pudding. Show me the results.
Right. Thank you.
You're welcome. And Sid, are you on?
Here.
Sydney?
Yeah, sorry. My mom we were supposed to make pasta tonight, and then I left her making all the pasta.
I want you to tell DeMarco, we were talking about and all of you guys, what you've been doing during the COVID-19. So I think Sydney has a great story for that.
Well, actually, thanks to Debra, I got involved with the Senior Strong NYC campaign. So I've been working on the social media team, and we basically crafted this entire brand from scratch. We created the logo, we created the color, we revamped the entire website together, and now we put out content daily, weekly about how all these seniors are struggling, during this time, and how they can be thriving instead. Mm-hmm. So there's, exercise, there's meditation, there's ways to stay safe at home, homeowners insurance. There's a lot of different aspects to it. And then I also applied to become a crisis counselor. So that's in the making as well.
While she's working for
I'm working for Food Network full time.
Okay. Oh, that sounds like a really cool thing. Is there a correlation between a crisis counselor and your work at the Food Network, or this?
Not at all, but I'm thinking about going back to school and getting my PsyD, but I'm not sure I want to jump into it just yet.
Yeah.
So this was kind of like a trial run. But I also understand that, like, working for a crisis line, you're dealing with a lot of like really stressed out people.
Yeah.
Which is not what I want to do for my work.
Yeah.
I'd rather deal with like slightly stressed out teens, maybe.
Yeah.
So
they're probably worse, to be honest.
They're really worse. A lot of them are suicidal, I believe. So that's not my expertise, nor is it what I want to go into. But it's something that might look good on a resume down the line if I don't do it.
And DeMarco, wouldn't this be true if Sydney was to do something like that for a little while? And this is for all of you guys. If she was to bring that thing, like, I've been working on crisis, I know how to work with teams. I can calm people down, or music people, right? When that kind of skill set, it's kind of like your trajectory, your story. You know, Cindy, sometimes people, and all of you guys, you know, it's like we say we got to eat the shit sandwich.
Yeah.
Like sometimes you got to eat the shit sandwich before you can get the great sandwich, because you can appreciate what a good sandwich tastes like. But and all of you, you know, you don't go right into that kind of thing. And that's kind of what DeMarco's saying. But you get that skill set for however long it takes, or be able to say that about the COVID-19 and bringing this awareness to senior citizens in New York and the surrounding boroughs.
Yeah.
That's like amazing.
Yeah.
You know, what have you done during this time, or what do you want to talk to DeMarco about what your interests are?
Well, I can talk about what I've been doing during COVID. DeMarco, you mentioned you're from Chicago. I'm actually moving from the LA area to Chicago in early July.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm doing an internship at Hope for the Day.
Okay.
Are you familiar with their company?
I haven't heard from Hope for the Day, no.
They are a mental health awareness and suicide prevention like education company. They did, when events were still happening, they do a lot of events and collaborate with a bunch of companies like Live Nation and other companies to like to be like a safe space for people to talk about their mental health issues. And their slogan is "It's okay not to be okay." So it's a really cool organization, and I'm part of their marketing team as an intern this summer, which is really exciting. I'm also doing a summer class at my school. I go to school in New Jersey, close to New York City, actually. So I'm all over the place.
Right, you're here, yeah.
I go to William Patterson University in New Jersey.
Okay. I just read.
It's a great.
Someone actually, that's so funny. I just heard that university for the first time because who was it? I was talking to Mariah Carey's manager, and he went there. So it's actually so you're in good company.
No way! Oh my gosh!
Find out the name and connect with him on LinkedIn. Like
I absolutely will. I'm going to make a note of that.
Let me make a note. Let me actually confirm this now before I'm like talking. So you're not out here linking to the wrong person. But I feel like William Patterson.
Yeah.
Let me see.
Oh my God. I love that.
So funny.
This is what it's all about, you know? Like, when did you get this internship from last time, or when did you get that?
Say again, I'm sorry.
When did you just get this internship?
Yeah.
I got hired at the end of April, but I didn't start really until May.
Yeah. He went there 2007 to 2011. His name is Jai Dior Hawkins. Jai. Dior Hawkins, sorry. He's Mariah Carey's day-to-day manager.
Oh my God.
Jai Dior, like the
exactly.
designer.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. I'll look him up and see if I can maybe connect with him or something.
Yeah.
Anyways, so I got the internship actually at the end of March. I misspoke. And then started really in May. But they've been working remotely, obviously. So I attend like the weekly marketing meetings, and right now with the whole Black Lives Matter thing, they're trying to figure out the best way to like offer mental health resources to specifically the Black community. And then just like their slogan is "It's okay not to be okay." It's a really cool company.
I love that. I love that slogan.
And I'm really proud to be a part of their team, at least for the summer.
Where's it based in Chicago?
So, it's based in Chicago. I think it's downtown. I've never actually been to Chicago, so it's.
You're gonna love it.
Yeah, I'm excited to go.
Yeah, it's a good city until the winter.
Yeah, exactly. Heavy coat.
Yeah. But you're from New Jersey, so.
So I still have. What did you say? I'm sorry.
No, I said you're from New Jersey, so the cold shouldn't be a thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, actually, I'm from California, go to school in New Jersey, and then moving to Chicago. Like, my family is moving. So I'm born and raised outside of LA. So.
So.
Yeah. So, but I do have another year of school left in New Jersey, and I think unless I really fall in love with Chicago, I think I'm probably going to end up in the New York area.
Yeah.
But at this point, I'm not sure, and I don't really need to know right now.
That's right.
Fair.
Don't need to know. That's right. You guys, it's all
Yeah.
like
I have like a direction. I don't quite have a destination, if you know what I mean.
It's actually great.
great.
It's actually, your life will be really fun. I feel like when people have such an
That's
early
reassuring because
yeah,
I do worry. Like, I do worry about the future. I do have, like, my biggest fear is failure, you know? So, like, just hearing that makes me happy.
No, I don't think that you should fear failure, because without failure, you'll never grow. And so I think if you were always to succeed, you'd be bored by the time you turn like 30. So I feel like what is not having destination just makes the ride so much more fun than actually sort of knowing where you're going. Because then it's like, imagine thinking that you're going to be in a destination your whole life and then getting to it and not being happy. But you hadn't explored anything else up to it. Like, I feel like that's why I'm blessed to have had the journey that I currently have now, is because like all those different things that like are not related to what I do now, but I learned skills, hard skills and soft skills. My network is vast because it sits in music, education, nonprofit, and civic engagement. And I can always return to those. I now have 4 sectors I could return to if I wanted to.
That's correct.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, and Chicago's a really good city to network in. And it's a community-based city. And so everyone is really just trying to help each other out. And specifically if you're located downtown, like it's a really good networking city.
It's like the nicest city in the world. It's almost like crazy how nice people are there. I would like look around and go, are they being like extremely nice?
Yeah.
Or just them? I never experienced
That's so funny.
like that. It was crazy.
Yeah.
That's so funny, especially because I'm used to the New York lifestyle where everyone's rude to each other.
So it's a combination of LA and New York. So you know how in LA, like no one's like you'll walk past somebody on the sidewalk and they won't say anything to you, or they won't look at you at all. I mean, or they won't say hi.
Everybody's fake in LA.
Yes, right. Oh, let's get real.
Oh yeah, no, I'll totally be real with you. I know how it is.
Yeah, but in Chicago, it's hey, how are you? Or like, oh, excuse me, where you go? Like, it's very much. Or when you're standing in line for something, they'll have a conversation with you. It's a community city. People want to get to know you. So
I think that also comes with being in the Midwest.
Yeah,
without a doubt. There's something really said about the Midwestern people. It is a culture that is just the warmest, realest, incredible, welcoming place, I think.
Yeah.
If Chicago had better weather, I'd be there in a second.
Yeah.
I actually grew up in Columbus, Ohio, and the Midwest is just, like, I miss it because I live in Florida now.
Yeah.
You said something about different. My mom always says, if you fall on your face, at least you're falling forward. So
yes,
there's that.
100%.
I really like that. I'll remember that.
Yeah,
that's a good one. Libby, what are you trying to? So you were saying marketing or something. What?
Yeah, so I'm actually doing digital broadcasting and video production.
Okay.
So I finally got enough guts to start a YouTube channel for myself.
Yeah.
I think what Matthew said earlier. I was just like that kid to always record myself on like the little NV3s and the Razors, and I had a YouTube channel from when I was like 10 with my best friend.
Yeah.
So I always had a passion for that. And then just during COVID, unfortunately I wasn't very healthy, so I didn't really get to do that. I was studying abroad, but I was home, so that's kind of where I was like in a rest period. And and then I just started reading a lot of like self-help books, doing the webinars when I could, and just starting the YouTube channel, playing with cameras, and I'm currently working for a digital broadcast company now that's a startup company, so it's actually pretty great because I feel like I get as much experience as possible, and I'm not just like the intern. So I like it so far. It's really great.
Interning at a startup is very interesting because it's much like actually interning at a nonprofit where sort of you wear multiple hats, but as an intern, you can bring so many ideas to the table because they're really just trying to figure out how they can grow their brand and business. And I also think it's very important to take breaks and really make your physical and mental health a priority. Have you ever read The 7 Habits of a Highly Effective Person?
No, but you're the second person to actually recommend that to me this week, which is awesome.
It's a good book. Listen, I'm gonna be honest with you, and I haven't got past habit 3, and I've been carrying around this book for maybe like 5 years. But like it's good because it forces you to reflect on yourself and your own professional being, but also just sort of teaches you like, here are the different spaces and quadrants of a professional, and here's where you sit. And so you sort of learn how to self-assess, and then you can say, okay, I like who I am, or I really want to be more like this. So I think as a true professional, even if you truly hone who you are and what your skills are and what your personality traits are, you still have to learn the skills of being able to adapt to other people's, because specifically as a manager, like I'm very extroverted and I'm a big picture thinker. Like, so I'm not detail oriented, which is specifically when I'm managing someone, I actually prefer someone that is detail oriented because I'm not. So I think also a good interview question is like, what working styles complement theirs, right? Because then you can sort of either, if you want to kind of flux it and fib a little bit, oh, that's fine too. Like, but it gives you more about them. But you want to learn how to adapt to other styles too, because not everybody's going to be just like you.
Right.
Yeah, that's actually a huge help. So thank you.
I'm going to throw in another book for everybody that is just unbelievable. But it's great to listen to it on the audio thing. It's Elizabeth Gilbert, the writer who wrote Eat, Pray, Love. Mm-hmm. She wrote a book called The Big Magic. And it's about the process of creativity and all the things that she went through, you know what I mean? And all the rejections that you guys may go through when you're interviewing. And like you said, when like, you know, you fear of failure. Failure is the biggest thing that you can do because like DeMarco said, that's where your biggest growth comes from. Yeah. And she would just say like how rejection, and she was just like, come at me because I'm going to be here a long time. So I'll get rejections before people were born, you know. She was going to be in it for the long run. It's like in my day, I'd go to the top of the building and I figured by the time I got halfway down, I will have had a job. And that's exactly by the 8th floor, even though I started at the 37th, I had a job. And, you know, but unfortunately, you know, and we're a little bit to blame, parents, teachers, your generation wasn't raised like that. You've been a little bit modeled a little bit like not letting you fail. You did a big failure in not letting you do that. So now it'll be up to you to carve your own, you know, road on that for sure. Yeah. You know, Mackie, do you have anything to say to DeMarco?
Yeah, I thought I'd jump on as well with everyone else. Like, good question. Like, what am I doing during COVID? I'm kind of in the same boat as Livy, where I really realized that this is my first opportunity after school just to like focus on something I'm passionate about. So for me, I've always been a photographer at like concerts, but I actually used to sing in a rock band. And back as a kid with a YouTube channel, like I used to post covers, and it's something I just wanted to get more into. So I've been spending time like recording music, learning music production, and my hope is that by the end of the summer, I can drop like one professionally produced recorded song. I have some digital marketing experience, so hopefully, you know, market that out to maybe some like big YouTube channels that show music, do that sort of thing, and get my first experience doing that. And then on the side, like I'm trying to get more of an understanding for digital, right? Because you're talking about, you know, we're Gen Z, we have to figure out all the cool, innovative stuff, right? So TikTok's blowing up. Spotify is like doing this cool new thing with podcasting, how it's getting more involved with like social culture. So kind of similar things, Gwyn, like working on an early stage startup right now, doing some video and audio production there. So really just trying to get myself involved more with the art, but also being able to apply myself more as like a creative and a marketer as well to really shape myself into a career that's more around storytelling in music and media. Yeah.
I think the digital space specifically, like we're all in the digital space now that we're in COVID, right? And so I feel like those who are able to really understand it and hone that skill are going to be the most marketable when we get out of this, because everyone's going to stay digital. Even when we go back in person, everyone's going to stay in the digital space. So if you can gain an understanding for whether it's producing or whether it's the analytics behind it, you'll be marketable. Also, like when it comes to digital, like collaboration is everything, right? How are you expanding your reach just outside of you? So if you and Libby both have YouTube channels, like how are you all working together to expand your reach? You don't necessarily have to produce the same content, but like, how is Libby sharing what you're doing? How is Matthew sharing what Libby's doing? And like, how are you expanding your reach? Even if it's a one-time thing, right? You don't have to be best friends and have the same mindset, but it's like, we have two audiences, so how can I turn my 100 into 200 and keep it moving?
Yeah, I think like one thing I'm really starting to learn now is like just meeting more people and like building those relationships in order to like cultivate that community.
Yeah.
One question I ask and maybe get some of your feedback on, and for anybody, is like because I'm doing this startup thing, I'm trying to like put as much time as I can into learning music production. And I'm kind of at the start of that learning curve where like, you know, there's a lot to learn and it's a lot to handle at once. So I need to put in more time for that. But I'm also working with like Patagonia Toronto. So I'm from Canada, and we were doing a project for people, for persons with disabilities, and trying to figure out ways to get them more incorporated into like environmental activism. But with Black Lives Matter, like we think that we should figure out a way to get involved there as well. So it's almost like I have two projects there. I have the personal project, you know, and then on top of that, like I'm applying to grad school. So I feel like I'm spread thin right now, and I'm worried that I won't be able to like apply myself effectively to one of them. And it's just kind of like scattering myself around. Don't know if you have any thoughts on that.
Yeah, it sounds like, because I debated on going to grad school. I debated on getting my MBA while also currently working my job, and then I also have side projects, and then I have to make time to go to the bar, which is very important to me. This is my top priority, actually. It's my top priority. It's just, you have to sit back, and I sit back and ask myself, like, are these things related to each other? Do they all build off of each other, right? Is my work in Canada related to the degree that I'm going to get, and is that related to what I'm currently doing? Because you don't have to do it all right now, right? Typically grad school is always going to be there. It is not going anywhere. Education is not going anywhere ever, right? You're not going to be more marketable with a master's degree at 25 and then you are at 30. And so whenever you decide to get that degree, also you'll probably have more money if you wait on it. But it'll always be there. So I always ask myself that question too, like, what needs to happen now and what can wait? And I told myself, like, an MBA is always going to be there, but this experience that I'm getting now, like, might not be there the older I get. Because the older you get, sort of the chances and the opportunities for people to mentor you and to take you in, I won't say like lessen, but they're harder to find because you become more established in your career. And people are more willing to take a chance on the younger generation because they know they have more of the information, but also people love to help people, specifically young people. So I think about like what can wait and what's now. If you don't do this opportunity that's happening in Canada, will that be available in 5 years? Will it still be relevant in 5 years, right? Is the job that you're working now, will that be relevant next week? Like, you're fighting time here and you're fighting relevancy, specifically when it comes to the digital space. Every week we've got a new app. Every week we've got a new TV show. Every week we've got a new platform. So like, you're always going to be competing against what's new. But again, I feel like I'm just telling you not to go to grad school, but grad school will always be there. It's not going to change. Yeah. And also, do I need to go full-time? Can I go part-time and see how it works? And then if they don't relate, like, dip your toe and see what's working.
Okay.
Yeah.
And sometimes, Matthew, going back to school, like DeMarco's saying, after a year or two of real life experience,
it is better.
It's so much richer because, again, you can bring stuff into that. But I can tell you from experience, real life experience is the greatest education, quite frankly, you could get. And like he's saying, you guys are the class of 2020. There's a lot, or 19 or what, there's a lot on your shoulders right now, in a way. You are perceived as something special. Use those special gifts and get into where you want to go now.
Yeah. I also feel like two things. One, if you have more experience under your belt before you go to grad school, it'll make networking for you easier because you'll know what you want. And then I also feel like there's always this interesting dynamic between students who come right out of undergrad and go to grad school versus professionals that are always in grad school. And I feel like people who have a experience under their belt tend to do better in grad school when they come out of it versus those, because if you go from undergrad to grad school, when you come out of grad school, you're starting from the same place as you did at undergrad because you never got any experience.
Right.
So.
Exactly.
Yeah, I feel like maybe it's just because of COVID, but I feel like a lot of times I've been trying to take the safe way out or like, the less risky, but maybe it is a little bit more about getting out of my shell and be willing to just embrace those uncomfortable situations.
Yeah. Because you'll probably, and you get experience, and that experience might be equivalent to a master's degree. Like, I really feel like depending on the master's degree, like, you may or may not need it. So also figure out, do I need this for my profession? Like, think about that too.
I was actually going to ask a follow-up question about that. I was going to ask you, like, how important do you think a master's degree is for the entertainment or the music industry specifically?
Not at all. Let me tell you something. There are executives that never went to high school. That's like right. they are, and that is sort of the old school thought of it. But I've had people apply to internships with master's degrees, and it hasn't made them more attractive to me because they've got to have a master's. Because it really, this is just me being from my perspective, unless you have like a master's in really one specific skill, it doesn't really faze me that much. Like, unless you have like an MBA or something where you were like really intentional about what you were studying, it doesn't really help it or hurt it. I think people really go into master's degrees to expand their network and their knowledge of that specific field. So if you studied something very general in undergrad, so like say I'm a communications major, and then in my master's program, I would study like tour marketing specifically. Like it's a quicker path to obtain those skills, but it's a more expensive path when you can also just get 2 internships and it equates to the same experience.
That's what I was going to say. I was going to say, like, by the time I graduate, I want to have 4 internships under my belt.
Yeah, that's fair. That's definitely fair. My friend right now, so I have a friend right now who has been in education all his life and now wants to pivot out of education and go into tech, but he's having a lot of trouble because his resume is only education. He never did anything else. So he only taught and worked for education nonprofits. So he's going to go to grad school so that he can switch the trajectory of his career, but also create a network that's more in tech than in education.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so it all depends. Like, what are you going to use it for? But in entertainment specifically, like, no one
cares.
Yeah, no one really cares.
It's so funny trying to explain it to my parents who both had to go to school for their professions.
Yeah.
Like, my degree isn't as important as theirs for my profession.
No, and I can tell you that I know the head of one of the House of Blues operations, the VIP rooms, she studied biochem engineering, and now she runs special events for the House of Blues. Like, if you even like it's so funny when you're doing LinkedIn stalking, that's what I call it. Like, look at what they actually studied, and it's actually pretty rare that they studied something that's related to what they're doing now, because your internships, but also that first job will really sort of put you on the path to where you're going. Okay. So it's actually really important to be intentional, I think, in those first 1 to 2 jobs of what you're doing, because you can get stuck easily. I don't know what's happening here.
Yeah, I would agree completely with that, is your internships are really, because that's where you can tell your stories too. I did this. Right. And DeMarco, would you agree with it too, that in today's world too, the more that you do, I mean, the people that you're hiring, it's going to be, well, you're in this job for the next 2 years, given what's happened now, that people coming in are going to have to do the job of 20 people and expected to, in a way, because if you're going to hire 2 people, you're not going to hire a whole thing of internships this summer. You know what I mean? Yeah. So people are going to be required to bring their best to the table in everything that they do. But making good cappuccino too, quite frankly, digital marketing.
To be honest with you, I feel like what's happening now, specifically in entertainment, is that people are looking for interns who can do an actual job, right? It's extremely illegal, to be honest with you. But they're looking for somebody who can fill a coordinator's role because they don't have the funding to pay for it, which sucks because it's like free labor on their end, but also if you hold on hope and they get funding, then it makes it a natural progression for them to fill that role with you. And if they don't, then you've got that experience and that knowledge because I always say the worse the company, the better, the more skills you obtain because it's just been my experience.
It's true.
I think it's more the size of the company.
Yes. Yeah.
I've noticed that too. Cause like even with Hope for the Day, it's a bigger company than I interned for last fall at a small artist management company. I was doing anything and everything they give me. And with Hope for the Day, I'm really just only doing like marketing type stuff.
I will tell you this though, and DeMarco, would you agree with this? And everybody who gets internships, also think about what positions you could take. Take a leadership position. Try to build those things that on your resume, what I help kids to do is led, directed, produced, organized. Think about those words and how to incorporate that into the job that you're going to be doing there. You know, because people organized papers and did reports. Well, nobody gives about that. It's that produced event that organized for 1,000 people and resulted in $10,000 in whatever.
Right.
Think about those things going into any internships, you guys, or anything you're doing.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Anytime you can add data to a bullet point is absolutely amazing. And again, it's really hard. Resumes are so tricky, but we want to know what you did, but we also want to know how you did it in one bullet point that's 10 fonts and fits on this page. So like, it's a tricky space to be in, but.
And you got to make those bullet points come alive. And that was something we're going to discuss today too. Tonight, I don't know if everybody's still up to it. We could do it next week, but you know, how you make those bullet points come alive when they ask you about that, you got to be in that job that you did. And, you know, I worked with DeMarco, he was this, we put on this event, you know, you got to tell that story in it. Not just, I worked with a team that did this. I really wasn't a part of it. You get in there because you can.
And anytime that you started it, like I founded this, like I created this, like anytime it comes from you, like you be self, do not be modest. I see so many interns resumes who are like, are very like modest. Like I worked with a team. I was like, okay, but where the idea come from? Oh, I actually created it. Why don't I know that?
Why didn't you lead with that?
Why didn't you lead with that? So that's definitely an opportunity. Matthew. Yeah. It's a time to really show who you are. Like it's like literally a time to be I wish it was a better word for arrogant, but like just know your shit. Like you are who you are and be confident. My biggest pet peeve is somebody who's like insecure in an interview because it doesn't make sense to me. Like you've done all these things, so how are you sort of not confident about them?
Guys, it's like what we talked about on the ride tonight. Amplify your existence.
Yeah.
Put the radio up on your own frequency.
Yeah.
Come on, because you can do it. Don't put the music down low. You can't dance to that shit. You got to put the music up.
That's good.
So DeMarco can dance to it.
Honestly.
Groove to it, right?
That's a good analogy. I like that a lot.
Thank you. I just came up with that. So you guys, I don't want to keep DeMarco anymore. Is there any more questions? He's spent such great time with us. Is there anything you want to say to him?
Can I just ask real quick, DeMarco, like your friend that is transitioning from like education to tech, like I kind of feel like I'm in that transitionary period too, where a lot of my internships weren't really related to music entertainment. So now I'm trying to get myself personally involved in that first and get that experience to get myself like an internship in music media. Like, what did you sort of tell your friend there?
God, she's not a good example. What I would recommend, what I told him is one, he's saying like he's gonna go to grad school, like that's sort of gonna be his answer. But what he's been doing is he's been taking conversations with people in the tech space. So he's been building his network in tech. So although it's not landing him a job right now, he's building a network so that he can begin to communicate his skills, his transferable skills, so that when their job does open, he's built that relationship with someone, that camaraderie, like, oh, well, we'll take a chance on him. The other thing too is he started volunteering in the tech space. So being able to volunteer and then communicate that volunteer experience on his resume as well, because a lot of people have like the line that says, and I don't know, Debra, you might disagree with this, but it has the line that says volunteer experience and they have it there. At a certain point, a certain age in your career, like you start, it's either there or it's not, but you can begin to communicate your volunteer experience, depending the depth of it, as like an actual role. So if you were consulting for an education tech, or you volunteered for this, like I know, like I typically work for a nonprofit that's under a for-profit, but my skills and sort of big picture thinking, and I also have like I'm a good moderator. Like I moderate panels. So I've been able to communicate that skill to moderate panels that aren't even related to my job, because it's something that I've just put on my LinkedIn. I've communicated about. People, Debra has seen me moderate on panels. And so just being able to constantly show that skill, I've been awarded those opportunities.
Yes. And volunteering, guys, that's one of the things at Your Career Design Lab that we work with, again, when we put together your resumes and help you do that. Volunteering and saying, again, what you've done in those volunteering jobs so that you can tell us, again, a story about it is a huge game changer. It doesn't, then it elevates the volunteering. Yeah. And volunteering right now, especially during COVID or all those things, are acceptable and meaningful. You know, brings meaningful. It's not like even a year ago what volunteering means. Volunteering today, like what Sid was doing, that's like working, but it started out as volunteering. Those things are really important. So again, it's just how you word it. But
great. And take leadership positions in your take leadership, because it's like there's no difference in you being like, hey, I managed this group of volunteers that did A, B, and C and didn't get paid for it, to I managed this group of volunteers that did A, B, and Z and I got paid for it. There's no difference except that you got paid for one and you didn't get paid for the other. Like the skills are still the same.
Exactly. So I want to thank you, DeMarco, so much for everything that you've done tonight and imparted on everybody. We greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you all for having me. I enjoyed this conversation. Hopefully,
thank you.
No problem. I'm on LinkedIn, so please connect with me. And then for those specifically focused on entertainment, like we can have more conversations. Music Forward has opportunities. I'm building a college advocate program for those who are still in college, and then for those who aren't, I'm actually working on building job boards for Music Forward so that we can place people into music industry jobs. So we'll keep me on your radar.
Awesome.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you so much. Have a great night.
Yes. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye. And be sure to come back next week. Look for those emails. Debra, who's our guest next week?
Next week, we have Mike Miles. Mike worked for Sony Pictures. He's a digital marketing space. He's working with the largest Japanese streaming service. He did Next Top Model, the Grammy Awards. Big entertainment guy. He's going to tell his story and impart, again, what DeMarco did so beautifully tonight, additional information on how you guys can get involved. And tonight, it's been quite a while, but I was going to go over the resumes. Would you guys all prefer that I do that next week and we spend a great deal of time on the resumes and how you take all this information and apply it, and what you can say on the resumes? I wanted to go through that and some of the networking things as well. We could take some time, or do you get into it tonight? It's completely up to you.
I'm okay with going till next week. I don't know about everyone else.
Yeah. Maybe it'll be fresher next week. You guys can think a little bit more about your stories. Next week, I want more of you guys on to talk about your story because then I'm going to talk to you about how we put that into the resume. Like DeMarco was saying, you know, like the volunteering thing. Well, Deborah, I did this. Will you say it like this? I want to show you how you say things on your resume, certain words you need to use so that you can move forward. And by the way, I just want to say, if you want to, and Matthew, this sounded like something for you, if you guys want to go deeper into your stories, it's a little challenging to do it on a webinar because I really go deep with you onto all the questions and how you can say things and how you put on your resume. It kind of gives you the confidence, like we've been talking, to interview, to put yourself out there more. So I just want to, I put this up there if you want to call me or contact me at YourCareerDesignLab.com. You know, I'd be happy to put together some sessions with you. So thank you all for coming again. I hope you're getting a great deal of information. Because as DeMarco said, if you really look closely, most overnight successes took a long time. And you're just on the road now.